Vincenzo's Go Crypto Investing this June the 25th, 2025, noontime daily cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, gold and silver bullion update as we work our way and achieve our mission together, our steady investments to become asset millionaires. And that's why this channel was created for you, the retail trader and investor, to come along with me, as I'm not a financial advisor, but I invite you and I ask you to join me on my mission, as I've made it public, to become an asset millionaire, to increase my standard of living via simple and easy and super simple and easy steps and processes to achieve this goal. And that is by 401k steady investing, gold and silver bullion and mining stocks, cryptocurrencies, real estate, and of course cash. Always have to have a little bit of cash, earning in a CD or a short-term treasury of 3 to 5% for emergencies, peace of mind, and the ability to buy a new asset or at a strategic time in the market to accumulate more of an existing asset, right? So become members of Jabroni Killers. It's as easy and cheap as $3.99 a month to support the channel. And I just put an emergency Jabroni Killer emergency statement, retail manipulated alert, don't be fooled, after the pump. And I released a emergency Jabroni Killer statement. So it's very interesting, and you should be members of Jabroni Killers, and you'll get updates like that. And it's easy to become a member of Jabroni Killer by just going to my channel, clicking in all video description and/or pinned comment. Join Jabroni Killers, become an asset millionaire as low as $3.99 a month to support the channel. And you can see we're here to help you build your wealth through smart strategies in stocks, cryptocurrencies, gold and silver mining stocks, real estate, and 401k investing. We arm you with the truth, trust, education, and information to navigate a system rigged by criminal manipulation and currency devaluation. The elite stack the deck. We teach you how to flip the table, right? Flip the script on them. Join the resistance, become a Jabroni Killer member, right? And we're doing great things there. We got very good videos. We're starting to expand what you get for being a Jabroni Killer member and really put time into that and trying to make that a really big community of education and ideas and Jabroni Killer only content, right? So we're getting bigger there. We're growing there, and you should become members. At the very least, it supports the channel and you get a great product and very important information and education. If we look at the daily time frame with the XRP or the Bitcoin price, we've been on this rising channel ever since we had that COVID. See that? And it almost looks like a bigger version of those shorter patterns that we do. You see what we've been in ever since that COVID double top. But look, it kind of looks like a bigger version of the turtle. See that? There's the shell. And then you have the turtle's head peeking out there, or the conveyor belt, right? And then what do they usually do? They're bullish continuation patterns with bearish reversal patterns, and they usually do this, right? Not saying it's coming down to $19,000 or anything like that, but I'm saying they usually do break down. And that's why I still believe that as we teeter here, as we've gotten a couple of hits on support right here in the weekly time frame, and if we zoom in to the daily time frame, you can see that local last little run up right here. We got a beautiful little hit off of a major support level, or the uptrending right line that we just looked at in our channel. There's your uptrending resistance, uptrending support. Wicked on it beautifully in the daily time frame, just below the 100-day moving average and right on the uptrend, sitting there, and it hit about, what was the swing low? 98,302.54, and we went up about 10.5% or $10,000 all the way up so far to a high of 108,158.03. But you can see we did that here, where we went from 100,600 all the way up to 110,000. Boom, rejection. Is this just another rejection, fighting our way towards lower support, and then eventually breaking down, hitting that 97 and collapsing it, and then working our way below the 200-day moving average that's running parallel and end up at 90,000. Those are all things that we're going to be watching, and this is a very important, like I told you yesterday and the day before, a very important week, because this is when this is going to have to make a decision. And you can see in the 4 hourly, it was pumping, it had the wick, the 3 hourly, you can see more candles. But if we go into the hourly, we're starting to finally chop out. And you notice in the last hour, in this current hour time frame that's about to expire, we had an uptick in volume noticeably from this whole thing, and it was a sell volume. So that's something very interesting. We might finally be seeing the top, and they might have finally got enough retail traders in to get them to bite in. If they didn't bite in on this first pump, they bid in on this secondary pump of 3 to 4%, a slow bleed up where they just couldn't not do it because it was a slow continuous bleed up, and every little pump and every little dump, it just got bought up. But could this be where the rug gets slightly pulled out, where we go from the swing high back down to the 50-day moving average, or a 4.5% or a $4,800 move to the downside, and retest the major support zone very quickly today? That's something that I'm watching out for, because this could at any point, just like it did right here, I believe that was Monday, it could do that on the flip side right here today. So we're going to pay attention to that very closely. Bitcoin dominance, you can see, had a big correction from the 66.12% high, which was a high, about a 4-year high since COVID. Then you can see it had a big decline when the altcoins rallied. Now the last 48 hours, you've had a swing back to the upside, and hence the altcoins have started to go down today. And you can see the Ethereum price is the big one. We're sitting up here in the moving averages. If we go out into the daily time frame, and you can see we're in the moving averages and starting to get rejected slightly, and getting rejected exactly on the 200-day moving average, where you can see right there, the 200-day, we got a rejection in the daily candle yesterday, a secondary rejection today, and we're actually trading down just below the 50-day moving average and just below the 100-day moving average right here. And if we get rejected here, and if we get rejected and we're below these 3 moving averages in the daily time frame, we're bearish, and your initial underneath support is your wick low here initially at $2,114.70, but your major underneath support is the 1869, top part of this blue trading zone, exactly where you launched out and had your 45% move to the upside, right? And obviously, if you broke back up and got above these moving averages, like so, your upside target is the bottom part of this green support and resistance box at 3,058.75 and change, right? We went there too quick. If we look at the XRP price, you can see the XRP price is doing in a similar fashion of what XLM is. The first mover advantage, Jabroni Killers and subscribers. And if you're new here, that's a reason to become members of Jabroni Killers video description and/or pinned comment, and to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of this time-sensitive, valuable information for the person here looking out for their retail trader and investor to get you into asset millionaire class. We got short to medium-term bears just after this 340 high was put in, regional high, right? Almost broke the all-time high of nearly $4. And right in this circle, early to mid-January, we put out this pattern: left shoulder, head in yellow, right shoulder underneath neckline. But as you know, from this point on, all this, none of this was here. That wasn't here. This wasn't here. None of this was here. That drop wasn't here. This pump wasn't there. This dump wasn't there. That pump wasn't here. That dump wasn't there. Right? None of this was here. We were forecasting the future, and now the future is here, and the recent past was the future from the far past here. And you can see the forecast was beautifully, and we gave you that first mover advantage. And you can see we've been trying and holding and not wanting it to break through this 209 neckline support. We got bounced on it here during the left shoulder that I'm not zooming out to show you. This brief wick down in February, about the 3rd of February, support in end of February, support in mid-March, support at the end of March, support all through April, support in early May, support in late May and early June, support again in late June, right? We're threatening to break down and confirm this as a major flip to resistance. And if you do that, it'll drive the price quickly down to this regional low from back here about the April 8th time frame at $1.61, I believe, or 62, and eventually come down to this $1.29 technical target from this head and shoulders, from the top of the head to the neckline to the point of a breakout, the targeted move, right? And that's what we believe would happen, and that's what you're trying to stop by all these buys, just stacked here like a wall. But we do know eventually, if the sell pressure is too heavy eventually this stacked wall will get chipped away and it'll breach it with an uptick in volume as you get limit orders to get limited out, and it flips it to major resistance and changes the short-term structure of the market and ends up driving the price down to our technical target, and eventually could even drive you as low as the 69 cents to the 86.5 cents. But that's something that we're going to have to watch to see as this, if it does get broken down and confirm this as major resistance. But right now it's trying to not have that happen, and we broke actually successfully back above the neckline from yet another attempt to stay below the neckline. And if you can stay above it, yes, you can pump up to this regional high of 255 and this horizontal resistance level up here that we got in the light red, right? See that? But notice why these are major resistance zones at 255. Look at, see the candles and the VP volume indicator on that side. See how it drastically gets lower after you break above there? That's why it's a heavy resistance. The same thing with this heavy lower support. Notice how you get below that level right there, right below the neckline support, right at the neckline support, it drops off drastically. And that's why if you do breach below it, just briefly look how quick you wick below, because there's not many buyers or support there, right? So that's very important where we're at right now in the market. Same thing with XLM. We didn't get back above yesterday or this morning the 25 cents like XRP did. So we're gonna have to watch to see, because if you stay below this, we do know our initial underneath target is the 18 cents. And this is another one we gave you the first mover advantage back here after the grayscale filing. Go back to this date, this weekend, leading up into the 63 cent high on a Friday night, and the Saturday, I believe, was 150% to 200% 24-hour pump on the grayscale yearly filing that they had to do. We got short to medium term bearish and laid out how we thought we would get down to 25, 18, 14, and potentially even closer to 10. But we were fairly confident in calling officially for 18 and 14, and unofficially talking about potentially somehow at this later on down the line, because remember, we first speculated and made these calls way back up here. We said as we got closer, we would decide if we were actually going to come down to that 7.5 to 12 cent range, right? So that's what we're watching out for there with the XLM. It's very important if you want to get bullish that you get back above and confirm, and don't confirm this as a flip to resistance, because you can see how it's been trying to hold it as support and stop it from being confirmed as a flip to resistance, because that would be drastic, just like the XRP. But you would need to get back above this 25 cents and at least hold it, and then let the moving averages trade into you, and then get a little bit of a kick and get on top of them, and then slowly eke out and start to trade your way back to the upside and get bullish, right? That's how you break this bearish sentiment the last 6 months, is to stay and confirm above that 25 cents. Like the channel, subscribe. Peace and love to the Rex Eyebrow. And if anybody in the United States or around the world had radio or satellite and knows what radio station, if you can give me the host of a radio station in the United States where one of his cast members was 25 cents, right? Let me know. Peace and love, the Rex Eyebrow. Jay.